Hey guys, it's Kay. Welcome to another J&Kay podcast. Today we're going to be talking about obsessions. So what we mean by obsession in this case is that feeling of you're not even thinking about what you're doing, but your emotions are just driving your decisions, specifically relating to a project that you're working on. So we usually, both Jay and I, have this problem where, especially when we're tired, we crave a win. We need some kind of success to give us energy. So we look for a project that we're interested in, especially if something exciting is happening in our life, which it often is. We always have a project to work on. And we will often work on that project in our free time, think about that in the back of our mind. And sometimes we'll even put off things that we need to do or are supposed to do in order to keep working on that project, like going to bed, eating a meal, important things like that. It might also cause one of us to obsess to the point where we're ignoring that the other person needs help. Since we are married and have a daughter, this can be really frustrating to the other spouse. And so sometimes we obsess because energy isn't just a physical thing. So even if we are keeping up with our good eating habits and good sleeping habits, sometimes we have this emotional or spiritual or mental need or this drive for excitement and inspiration. Usually it happens more when we are tired or low blood sugar and the physical side is lacking and we're trying to overcompensate. But not always. So a lot of times your energy is boosted hormonally. Your brain ups your cortisol levels and your dopamine levels and things like that. When you're excited about things, you feel happy, you feel excited, you feel, good. And if you're tired, it's kind of like having an energy drink to just get that win. But obsessing can make you self-sabotage. It can, like I said, it can cause division between you and a family member. Maybe you're not pulling your weight. Maybe you're not eating right or sleeping right, and that will kind of bite you in the butt later. And it's not necessarily the most efficient thing you can do, and it's not the best plan, but you're not thinking when you're obsessing. You're making an emotional reaction, a reactive kind of decision. So sometimes when you are obsessing, you feel like you can't cut your losses. You're already in this far. You've already sacrificed. You've got to just keep going until you have a win. You finish the project. You achieve your goal. And sometimes you actually make more mistakes because you're so tired. You don't do a very good job on your project, or it takes longer than you need to. And it's kind of a vicious cycle. But the thing is, there usually comes this point of guilt where you realize what you've done. You've hurt someone else's feelings, or you haven't been true to yourself. You haven't been living with integrity, and that can make you feel guilty. But guilt really isn't helpful in that situation. At that point, the guilt isn't helpful. That little nagging feeling that told you to stop probably would have been helpful. And at that point, there are some things that you can do. But if you get to the point where the project is done and there's nothing else you can do, no other decisions you can make besides just getting back to normal life, but you're feeling guilty, that's not really helpful. What is important to remember is there's always redemption. You can always, you need to make restoration, make up with that person, restore the relationship, ask for forgiveness, but also there's always redemption. You never have to feel like I made these mistakes and I'm never going to get that time back, or I didn't live with integrity, and how can I be teaching other people to live life system when I'm not doing it myself? Well, there's always redemption for that. There's always starting over and just keeping going. And maybe, even though it wasn't the right thing to do, maybe there will still be benefits from accomplishing that goal. I'm sure there will be. So you don't need to look down on yourself for your past failures. Now, when you do feel like you're obsessing and you really should stop, but you don't think you can because you're so tired and you just need this, it's almost like an addiction to this energy. You need to stop, take a second, and think deeply. Something inside of you is telling you to keep going on this project or keep pursuing your obsession. You need to think deeply about that. You do need to be true to yourself. You need to listen to that inner voice. So it's important to sit back, just take a second to journal it out. Figure out, why am I feeling this way? Is this really worth sacrificing half a night of sleep over? Is this really worth fasting 2 meals over? And maybe it is. Or maybe there's a better way to do it. What are your options? A lot of times when you're reacting and thinking emotionally, you don't consider all of your options and your alternatives. So take a second and think deeply, journal it out, find the root cause that is motivating you to do this. If you're tired, it might be more important to actually get some sleep. You might not realize how tired you really are, and that might be why you're obsessing. Now, if your obsession is truly important, then you need to take that into consideration, but maybe it's really not. After you think deeply and figure out why you feel the way you do, make a plan. So figure out what to do next. What is the best course of action next? Is it to obsess a little bit for maybe set a timer for 20 minutes and do as much as you can and then go to bed, or at the next checkpoint go to bed, rather than continuing on and on just as deeply as your emotion takes you? Or make a plan to maybe start first thing in the morning, maybe wake up early and get back to work after you've had a good night of sleep. Or maybe you can delegate this project out to someone else. So make a plan based on your journal entry and figure out what you can do. It can be difficult to stop when you're so emotionally motivated, but start to use that as a trigger. Start to use that feeling of obsession to trigger you that maybe it's time to think deeply. Maybe I'm overdoing this. Maybe I need to just figure out if this is the right thing or not. And maybe it is. But let me just step back, think, consider if this is the best thing for everyone involved or not. Start to use those obsession emotions as a trigger to just think deeply for a second. So that's my advice about handling obsessions when you are tired. Have you guys ever felt that way? Do you feel an obsession coming on specifically about a project and getting a project done? What are the pros and cons to those feelings? A lot of times you have this extra adrenaline spike. Should you ride that as far as it will take you, or should you take a break? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll talk to you next time.